Shabbat Shalom to everyone. It's a pleasure to see so many of you this evening and welcome you here for Kabbalat Shabbat, but also a special evening. A little over 9 years ago, I got one of the most frantic and petrified phone calls from anyone in our congregation. Jonathan and Pam Goldminz had called me and were petrified. Their 8-year-old son had just been diagnosed with cancer. What were they going to do? How were they going to navigate the months and years that were ahead of them? It wasn't easy. I remember sitting with you, Zach, in your home, in the hospital, during your treatments, losing in lots of Xbox and PlayStation to you, but being there with you during those difficult moments. We then shared the special bond of swimming as your sports career changed, watching you thrive at Camp Ramah, and before that, being with you as you rang the bell, signaling the end of your treatment. And here we are, your senior year of high school. And many have asked, what are the yellow ribbons for? Obviously, many of us know the yellow ribbons today, advocating for the release of the hostages in Israel, but before that, it had another important meaning for this family, and that's childhood cancer awareness. And September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And so I asked Zach Goldminz, who is truly a remarkable inspiration for all of us, to speak this evening about his experience and also what him and his family have been doing for every day since that frantic phone call that I got 9 years ago. So Zach, it's a pleasure to welcome you.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Zach Goldminz, as Rabbi Kushnick mentioned. I prepared this short speech for you guys. I hope it hits home. As a young kid, I wouldn't go a minute during the day without the thought of soccer tracing my mind or without a soccer ball in between my feet. It was my favorite thing to do, and I wouldn't stop dreaming and telling my family that I would be a famous soccer player one day. All of this came to an end 9 years and 1 month ago when I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma in my distal femur. A rare and aggressive bone tumor only 225 children in America are diagnosed with per year on average. Firstly, as an 8-year-old boy, my little brain was full of confusion and fear. How could something so rare happen to me? From growing connections through soccer and school to now feeling I'm normal to the rest of the world. The feeling of having to fight something so hard when you know that others around you have no idea what it's like is so frustrating. The words unlucky were used very often to describe how I felt in this situation. But was I really unlucky? A year of fighting, crying, fear, and pain had passed, and I stood strong on my new metal implant, ringing the bell celebrating no evidence of disease. That particular moment was when my life had started. With my metal leg, I obviously had to live with new limitations. The active boy I once was could not run, jump, or play any contact sports anymore. My competitiveness not only led me to finding an alternative sport, it also fueled something inside me to show the world that this wouldn't stop me from exploring my competitiveness and love for sports. I became a swimmer. If you know any swimmers, you would know that our relationship with the sport is a love-hate relationship. Practices were a mix of emotions at the beginning. I would lead the lanes when practicing freestyle backstroke and butterfly, but had to go to the back when we were kicking. The worst part of that was explaining to my curious swimmates why I was so bad at kicking in the beginning. My first swim meet had come. I really don't remember what I was feeling because of all the different things going through my head. Playing soccer is very different from swimming. While waiting for my heat, I could only focus on the butterflies in my stomach. Then I heard the 2 whistles. That was my cue to get up and get ready to dive in for my race, which was a 50-yard freestyle sprint. The beep sounded, then I dove in. The first beep of many. With every turn of the head I took to take a breath, I heard all the loud cheering of my family and friends. I realized I was ahead on the final stretch and won my first place in my first ever race. And for my entire first year of swimming, I never lost a freestyle event. I fell in love with the sport. Now I stand here today as a school record holder and 3-time Tap State Championship swimmer in freestyle backstroke, butterfly, and relays, and I'm ready for my 4th and final state championship appearance this year in my senior year. In addition to swimming, after surviving cancer, giving back to the cancer world is a life calling of mine that I strive to fulfill. I am president of Heroes for Children, and on my own time, I visit children I visit children with cancer and share my experiences and give them words of motivation. I can easily say today that I am lucky. I'm very lucky. The life cancer gave me is one I can never imagine living without. And it's not just me. Me and my family make it a priority to give back. If you drive down Polo Lane, which is our street, many of our neighbors' houses have yellow ribbons tied around their trees and childhood cancer awareness yard signs. They also have been making donations in my honor. All funds go to a shelter for cancer families, which is an organization that is very important to us. They provide support, stability, and a place for families who need a safe and comfortable home away from home. When we went down to Houston for my surgery, it was around Hanukkah time, and they decorated the entire apartment with Hanukkah decorations, filled the fridge, and stocked the kitchen for us, including potato latkes, and had presents for me, my siblings, and my parents. Every September, my dad goes around the neighborhood to tie ribbons and place yard signs to raise awareness. Awareness equals funding equals cure. That is just a fraction of what we do. We are very ready and active in our community if either we know someone or know someone that knows someone that knows someone that has cancer to help in every way we can. So why am I up here today? This is something I asked myself while writing this speech, and while I thought of what I should say, that's different from all the other times I shared the story. This September is the 8th Cancer Awareness Month I have celebrated since being a survivor. But this is the first year I understand what being a survivor means. The word survivor has many different meanings. One definition I found most intriguing was a person who copes well with difficulties in their life. Let me tell you this, we are all survivors. Time and time again, we live through acts of anti-Semitism that are fueled by the wishes of people in our world to get rid of us entirely. My great-grandparents, Nona and Nono, fought hard in the Holocaust and were the sole survivors of their families. They and all the other Jewish people who were murdered or survived fought for the future that we live in today. It is our turn to fight for the future of the generations of Jewish people to come. Earlier in this speech, I said, the feeling of having to fight something so hard when you know that others around you have no idea what it's like is so frustrating. The word unlucky was used very often to describe how I felt in the situation, but was I really unlucky? Just like how I can proudly say that I'm happy to have had cancer, I'm beyond happy to be Jewish and be a part of a community like Anshai. As a Jewish people, we have to embrace our happiness to be Jewish and not hide it. We are all very lucky. This last summer, I was in Poland for 2 weeks, Israel for 6 weeks, and Greece unexpectedly for 2 days because of tensions in the Middle East. From visiting concentration camps to talking to Nova survivors and hostage families, I had a very meaningful trip. If I wanted to talk about this trip, we would be here all weekend. We had very happy and sad moments on the trip, but if there was one thing I wanted to tell you, it was something that happened when I was away from the group in a mall in Jerusalem. I was checking out ping pong paddles for me and my friends to bring back to the Hava, which is where we stayed. I was behind a little Israeli boy and his father in the checkout line. The boy turned around and pointed to my chest, which sat the Star of David, with a surprised look on his face. He asked his dad about it in Hebrew, as me and his dad shared awkward smiles at each other because of the language barrier. I thought about this moment for the remainder of the trip. That boy is no more Jewish than I am. But since I looked American, he thought, why do I have a Jewish star around my neck? I'm obviously not upset at the boy. It was just a little unsettling because I've never shared that feeling of unconnectedness with another Jewish person. Just like how I felt abnormal to the world when I had cancer, I almost felt that way when I had this interaction, and it made me realize that young Israelis might feel this way too. Ever since October 7th, we as Jewish people yet again show how resilient and strong we are. I wanted to share this moment I had with this boy and his father with you because it showed me that never again is now. As a young Jewish boy, it is a priority of mine to restore connection between Jewish people across the world, which is a part of the reason I plan on taking a gap year in Israel next year. As we pray for the IDF, we have to do our part in embracing our Judaism and connections we have as Jewish people. Just like how me and my family pray for a cure, we do our part in doing everything we can to help while cancer is still relevant in children's lives. What I want to leave you with is this. There are things in life that are out of our power, things that we can't control. We have to leave these things in the hands of Hashem. There's always something that we can do to help on a lower scale that contributes to the larger scale. Once you find that small thing, you actually realize how easy it is to bring impact on someone else's life. Every aspect of life is beautiful because of how beauty can be brought out of anything no matter the circumstances. Thank you.
Zach, I've heard you speak numerous times, but you're always an inspiration. And no more so this evening than the way you've connected what it means for you to have survived cancer and how you've connected that to your Jewish identity and what we face. But I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight just a little bit more. You're a little too humble. Because not only did you survive and go on and doing amazing things, and we know you'll do amazing things as you continue to grow, but you didn't even touch on how much you personally do and your family do to really ensure that we will find a cure to cancer. You touched on it, and I'm not going to be here because we'd be here for hours if I explained everything that you do, but you just touched on a snippet of how much time and effort you've given and how it's shaped you into the man that you are. And it's hard to say that when I remember you so little, but you are, and really look forward to what you're going to accomplish. And you're an inspiration to all of us. So thank you so much. Thank you.